A lot of companies just doing a little infill drilling, trying to get to those stages. I think value is still being created, but the market doesn't care. The market wants to see those massive, like 800 meters of 3% copper intervals to get excited and push a stock hard. It is sad, but that's just the cycle we're in. The juniors are still not of interest. As I said, the Barricks and the Newmans of the world are attracting all the money because there's a bit of dividend yield, so the big funds can play those companies, but retail still is not at the table.
To meet the growing global demand for a cleaner, greener future, supported by alternative fuel materials, Argentina Lithium and Energy Corp has assembled a first-rate team of experts to acquire and advance the best lithium properties in the world-renowned Lithium Triangle.
Welcome to Inside the Markets, flagship podcast of StockPulse.com. And with me, I've got Kai Hoffmann here of Soar Financial. Kai, appreciate the time. I hadn't seen you, I guess, since you came to our symposium here back in September. So I appreciate you making that trip. Wish we could have spent a little more time. But it is what it is. A funny world out there. But I thought insider and mining, who better to start talking about the vibe of junior mining. So here we are. Appreciate it. And I guess let's start with maybe a macro view. Take me to 36,000 foot. Let's look at the playing field here. Gold and silver seems to be at decent levels, very volatile. Can't really get a trajectory. What do you say?
Rob, thanks for having me on. It's great to see you again, by the way. Yeah, it has been September, so lots has happened since. Really, really interesting markets. Obviously, geopolitical issues are forcing the precious metals right now. Russia and the Ukraine are obviously dominating gold price. We're trading at 1975, I think, as we speak. Silver hanging in there at 25.35, lagging a little bit behind big brother gold there, but it's still an important metal, not just from the industrial, but also precious metals, safe haven investment side. It is gold's little brother, not performing as well, unfortunately. But that's the main trend right now, unfortunately, is the geopolitical. Although I hear more and more with the Fed tightening and wanting to decrease liquidity in the markets, raising interest rates, that gold is being pushed in that direction as well, or upwards, I mean. Silver, again, lagging behind. We talk about precious metals there. That's why I keep bringing up silver. But it hasn't trickled down yet. We've seen the major miners are doing phenomenally well. Newmont hit an all-time high, I think, last week. Barrick is not far behind, but the juniors are struggling, and that's the market I focus on. Right, I don't chase the dividend-paying Barricks and Newmonts of the world. I like dabbling in the juniors.
Yeah, it's a romantic sector here. We like 10, 20, 30, 40 baggers. So I guess let's start talking about, I guess, the health of the sector here. A lot of monies came into the sector. Was it well spent? Where I ask a few analysts here, did the drill results keep up with the money spent? Are we finding the discoveries? I'd say no. Maybe you'll counter that and say, yeah, not so fast. There's a few things going on here, but how would you see the overall health of the sector?
I don't disagree. Like, we raised $6.8 billion last year. That's the second highest amount, or the highest amount in a decade we've raised in the industry. And as you said, I don't think it's being spent too well. We've seen some good results. Like, I keep bringing up Filo Mining in conversation because it's just a poster child of success. But after that, there's a big gap. There's some good results coming out, don't get me wrong, but nothing that was as gangbusters as like a Filo result. And that's a bit tragic to see. A lot of companies just doing a little infill drilling, trying to get to those stages. I think value is still being created, but the market doesn't care. The market wants to see those massive, like 800 meters of 3% copper intervals to get excited and push a stock hard. It is sad, but that's just the cycle we're in. The juniors are still not of interest. As I said, the Barricks and the Newmans of the world are attracting all the money because there's a bit of dividend yield, so the big funds can play those companies, but retail still is not at the table. Despite what is happening worldwide, despite massive inflation, despite Fed raising interest rates, they're not in the junior space yet. We'll have to see till that happens. So far, we're still playing, it feels like we're still seeing the same $20 bill being circulated. I'm sure if you put your name on one, you'll eventually get it back. You'll eventually see the same $20 bill again. But that's where we're at right now. We're not creating those discoveries. We're not in that cycle. It's just No, and of course, it's the other thing is they're not easy to make. It's not like you put 2 drill holes in and all of a sudden you have a massive discovery. I think Fruta del Norte was drill hole 74, for example. So you have to have a bit of patience as well. That's the other issue our market has, that investors are not patient enough. And our patience is being tested right now also by the lab turnaround times. Companies don't even have a chance to put out results because the lab is not providing them with any, right? So there's no possibility of planning the next step. So there's always a bit of a lag and delay, investor frustration, investor fatigue. So it all comes together when you don't need it, right?
Yeah, and it's frustrating on all angles, and because it's such an important sector. Without these guys exploring and finding these precious metals and minerals, we don't have the technology we do now. So, what's give me some drivers here? What's going to fix it? Find us a lightning bolt here, Kai.
Gold and silver, like gold and silver price. Maybe it's $2,000 that everybody talks about that pushes it back into the limelight. And we do, I think, need a stock market crash. Like, that's as sad as it sounds. Like, I don't want to see anybody lose their livelihoods or their money, but we need some of that 401k money to be scared into other sectors. It was the last 8-10 years, it was too easy just to put money into, let's say, Tesla and the FANG stocks. Like, the stocks were just running. You could make 20-25% every year without even have to worry about it. And I think that at some point will come to an end. Maybe this year might be it. Apologies, like allergies are killing me this season. And but we need to see that. And that's when people start to look for more other returns, like we've seen in the crypto space, but that sort of died out a little bit as well. There's not as hyped anymore right now. So I think gold and silver, or the precious metals, are the next thing. And it just needs a small catalyst. And if gold jumps over $2,000 again, which we're not too far off right now, that might be what we need.
Yeah, let's kind of move the argument, or not the argument, I guess, the discussion outside of precious metals here. Copper's on fire. You've got several things happening there. So you're really in a commodities bull here. So I think the picture you're painting here is probably just maybe a matter of time. So if that's the case, let's get into how do we pick winners here. People follow you around because they want your advice, or certainly want to see who you're talking to. I would assume the same here. I'm not here to really make any calls except just get people that are working hard in front of a camera to tell their story. So there's several ways to analyze these things. So I don't know. I guess how does Kai Hoffman see things right now? You just painted a picture, certainly in the precious metals, of near-term producers are what's going to be hot now. So exploration money might take a while. Talk about your vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of my best performing stocks in the portfolio is Orezone right now. It's a developer. They're putting out fantastic more drill results. So exploration is really feeding the story right now as well. They're in the bottom of the Lassonde curve, in the development curve. Like, they're planning to pour gold Q3. But fortunately, they've got some great drill results coming out to stop filling that gap there. And the stock's been going higher and higher. It's a developer that's going to produce. That's where the money is flowing, I think, right now. Other than that, it's like nickel projects. If you have a copper gold project that actually can produce, that has a chance to actually get into production, I'm not looking at some of those brownfield projects that'll never make it because they don't have the size that anybody needs. Like, that's why I keep bringing up Filo, because that could be a generational discovery, because that will make a difference. Funny enough, Barrick is starting something up again in Pakistan. The I think DIK project or something like that it's called. $7 billion investment to take it back into production. I think it's staged in 2 stages. I just read about it last night, actually, on Bloomberg. Massive copper production coming out of that. So those are the projects we need. We need sizable projects, and not those little dinky ones that have 300 ton per day mills that can't churn out any sizable output. Yeah, it's like Trafigura will happily take it, but that's not going to move the needle for the overall market. So shooting elephants, like going for the big ones, that is the challenge. And I think that's why Filo has been so successful, because there is no other projects like that out there. That's why the stock has been running like crazy. Friends of mine are sitting on 10 baggers right now from that stock. And identifying those opportunities early will be tricky, but start with the management teams, like who like follow the Lundins, for example. Like, it's a Lundin project. Like, if you follow those, like, company maker, like, how do you call it, like those entrepreneurs in the space that have had success, and not just once. And like, once it might be luck, second time, okay, like, there's something behind it. But if you've done it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, there's way more behind it. Those guys, at least if you're new to this sector, might be the easiest entry.
Yeah, so I'd say, I guess, if we're having a conversation here at the end of the year, overall, you think it was pretty good year for these guys? Think it really picks up in the back half?
Ooh, good question. Again, macro is going to dictate that, right? It's single companies, like there is a stock pickers market out there. Single companies will do well, but if you are invested into too many different companies, it will be tricky to generate a net positive return. I think. Like, apologies, if gold does go to $2,500, as some people say this year, then all bets are off. Like then we're all geniuses, and it doesn't really matter what I say here,
raises
right?
all ships. Everyone's
Absolutely,
smart,
right? So then you want to be in the dinky juniors that are highly leveraged. Then you want to be actually in the terrible companies because they will perform the best. That's sad as it is. Like as you said, all tides lift all boats, right? But if a low margin, but all of a sudden like gold price explodes again, a low margin producer all of a sudden triples their profit line or profit margins, and all of a sudden that's a sexy investment, which you would have never touched 6 months prior.
Yeah. Any favorite jurisdictions that you like to dabble in, or just obviously safe ones?
Yeah, that's like I used to love Peru, but that's a basket case right now as well. Like there's riots in the street happening right now. I'm not sure how much longer President Castillo will stay in power. I'm not sure how that's affecting the mining sector, but those are areas like I'd rather be cautious right now because you don't know what the fallout is. Right, even if it's just uncertainty, and if it takes 6 months longer to get a permit, that's money I'm not willing to put into a company right now to sit it out. There are, as you said, there are other jurisdictions. I'm still a big fan of Nevada. Can't beat Canada, Quebec in particular with their flow-through funds. You can get projects financed and create some value there. Scandinavia sounds interesting, but I'd love to see some more projects. Take the next step. Maybe a couple takeovers to show some faith in those jurisdictions.
Yeah, that's my next question, I guess, is you think you talked about how I need a market crash, a contraction of some sort. And, there was a movie several years ago, I think Too Big to Fail. And they started teaming up the banks. And I always said that'd probably be a good idea. Start teaming up some of the juniors, let them work together, use that capital. Get rid of bad projects, and maybe, and I guess that's another one too. Is how long does a company keep working a project that doesn't produce? Maybe move on, get new targets, things of that nature. So I don't know. I guess if you were the grand poobah here, Kai, what would you be doing here to kind of fix the sector here with what I just mentioned?
It's investor wallet. That's what fixes the sector. It's not me saying this company needs to go away. Like the investor needs to pull the plug, but they don't. Like they'll always find somebody to put in $100,000 to keep the lights on. We've seen it in 2015, 2014. Like none of the companies really disappeared, right? So we all prayed that they would disappear because they were sucking us dry. But they were able to suck up $100,000 here, $100,000 there, managed to do their filings. Maybe some of them turned into a pot stock. Some of them are probably back now. I've seen a couple like crypto companies now turn back into mining companies. So it's tricky, but like some CEO's livelihood depends on it. They draw a paycheck, even if it's not the biggest one. So telling them to stop working, it goes a bit against human nature, right? So it's tough, yeah. But you vote with your wallet, right? Like you don't have to invest into it. Like just avoid it. That's the best advice I have. Like because they'll never go away. That's the thing.
Yeah, let's get into what you're doing here, Soar Financial. Once you lay that out, I met you several years ago. You were tracking finance. You thought it was very interesting, probably a good place to be. So you're always kind of in track of the money and the inside here. So again, tell everybody about Soar Financial and how you operate.
Yeah, the Soar Financial Group includes Oren Inc. That's the company that tracks all the financings in the junior mining sector, like companies up to $1.5 billion in market cap and financings up to $100 million. So we don't track debt financings or anything, but the junior private placements, like non-brokered, brokered, and that's what we look at. And it tells us how healthy the sector is, right? And so far, so good. Like as I said, $6.8 billion raised last year. It was a great year. Like close to 2011 levels. I think we raised over $8 billion in 2011. That's the year we started, Oren Inc. started tracking the sector, and that's fantastic. And Oren Inc. is part, as I said, of the Soar Financial Group. So you can see behind me. Oh, I used the right finger. Awesome. The mining event. We're hosting physical events in Germany as well. That's where we use our expertise for introductions to investors. Give companies access to our network in person. And the next one is coming up at the end of May.
Okay. Well, I guess you're heading back to Germany, so I won't be seeing you at our conference this year. But but I'm sure you'll be there in spirit. So,
for sure. Like if I might record something and send it your way.
There you go.
Just spook everybody from a big screen.
There you go. Kai Hoffman, I appreciate you taking the time, my friend, and we'll certainly look forward to keeping in touch and seeing how the sector goes.
Robert, much appreciated. Thanks so much.